Backlinking, platforms to build authority. Backlinking is where buyers form opinions now. Modern B2B buyers don't show up to a first call open-minded. They show up having already Googled your category, compared you on review grids, and skimmed third-party content to validate whether you're credible. The earliest trust signals they see are rarely on your website, and they're often anchored by backlinks from platforms they already trust. That matters because buyers are doing this research without you. 66% use search engines during product research, 68% prefer to research purchases online, and 77% won't talk to a salesperson until that research is done. In other words, your SDRs and AEs inherit a perception that was built earlier on someone else's domain. Backlinks are the connective tissue between those somewhere else touchpoints and your pipeline. So we don't treat backlinking like a side SEO hobby. We treat it like a go-to-market motion. The goal isn't more links, it's more authority in the exact places your ICP checks before they reply to an email, accept a meeting, or shortlist vendors. When you build links on the right platforms, you're not just improving rankings, you're improving the context around every outbound and inbound conversation. Why backlinks still drive revenue, including AI search. Organic search remains a revenue engine in B2B. It generates 53% of inbound leads and contributes 44.6% of B2B revenue in the research cited by Omniscient Digital. That's why backlinks belong in the same conversation as pipeline coverage and CAC, not just keyword reports. If search is feeding nearly half your revenue, authority-building links are a lever revenue teams should care about. Backlinks are also still a differentiator in crowded categories where everyone publishes good content. Pages ranking #1 on Google have about 3.8 times more backlinks than pages in positions 2 to 10, which is a practical reminder. When you and your competitors look similar, authority often breaks the tie. The best teams stop arguing about whether links matter and start debating which platforms deserve the most focus. And backlinks don't just influence traditional rankings anymore. In a 2025 survey, 73.2% of SEO professionals said links affect visibility in AI-powered search results, which is exactly where many buyers begin their research before they ever reach a product page. If your brand isn't cited, linked, or referenced across trusted third-party sites, you're fighting uphill for visibility in both classic SERPs and AI surfaces. Start with the platforms buyers trust most, review sites. For most B2B software categories, review platforms are the fastest authority win because they already rank for Best X and X versus Y searches. Demand Gen Report summarizes research showing 86% of B2B software buyers rely on third-party peer review sites when making purchase decisions. That means your review site profile is often seen before your homepage, especially for prospects who are actively comparing options. The operational move is simple. Claim the profile, fully complete it, and treat review generation like a customer lifecycle play. We recommend training AEs and CSMs to ask every genuinely happy customer for a review at the right moment, post-onboarding success, renewal, expansion, or after a strong QBR. You're not just earning a link, you're stacking proof that your SDRs can reference and your buyers can validate independently. A common mistake is chasing guest posts while your review presence is thin or inconsistent. If your category page shows competitors with dozens of recent reviews and you have a stale profile, your authority gap will show up in both inbound conversion rates and outbound reply rates. Fixing that gap first is usually higher leverage than a handful of low readership blog links because it aligns with how buyers actually shortlist vendors. Turn every closed-won deal into a repeatable link system. The most sustainable backlinking strategy isn't a one-off outreach sprint, it's a system attached to revenue events. A practical standard is 3 links per closed won, 1 peer review link, 1 case study on your site, and 1 co-marketing asset hosted on a partner or customer domain. This approach compounds because each deal creates new proof, new distribution, and new authority without reinventing the process every quarter. To make it real, RevOps should hardwire it into the CRM so it triggers automatically at stage changes. When a deal flips to closed won, your team shouldn't be asking, "Should we try to get a link?" The task is already assigned, the email copy is ready, and marketing knows what to build. That's how backlinking becomes a predictable motion instead of a sporadic initiative that gets deprioritized whenever pipeline gets tight. The table below shows a simple way to attach link actions to the customer journey without adding chaos to your process. The point isn't bureaucracy. It's removing decision fatigue so the team can execute consistently. When you can run this play across dozens of customers, you'll earn higher quality links than scattershot outreach ever produces. In B2B, the best backlinks aren't the ones you build. They're the ones you operationalize so they show up every time revenue happens. Podcasts, PR, and editorial links that sales can actually use. Not every backlink needs to be an SEO trophy. Some are trust assets your team can deploy in real conversations. Podcast guesting is a great example. It typically produces backlinks from show notes and episode pages, and the content itself becomes a proof point SDRs can share. When a prospect is skeptical, sending a relevant episode can feel more credible than sending another product one-pager. Editorial and thought leadership links work the same way when they're placed in the right publications. Contributed articles, expert quotes, and niche newsletters can drive qualified referral traffic while also giving your AEs third-party validation to reference in late-stage deal cycles. The mistake we see is pitching generic topics to broad outlets. The better strategy is targeting publications and shows where your ICP already spends attention. PR and journalist source platforms can also be high leverage if your team responds consistently and stays on message. The best results come when you treat journalist requests like a weekly pipeline activity. Tight turnaround, data-backed answers, and a clear expert POV. Even when the direct referral traffic is small, the credibility halo can improve performance across paid, organic, and outbound channels. Make SDRs co-owners of link outreach without distracting from meetings. Your SDRs already do what backlink outreach requires: identify targets, write concise pitches, follow up, and handle rejection. With the right guardrails, a portion of that outreach muscle can support authority building alongside meeting generation. This is especially effective for teams working with a sales development agency, an outbound sales agency, or an internal pod structure that values repeatable processes. The key is to give SDRs a vetted list and a narrow ask, not a vague directive like, "Go build links." For example, marketing can provide a list of podcast hosts, partner managers, and editors that match your ICP, plus a short pitch template and approved talking points. Then you measure content opportunities generated as a secondary KPI, while primary KPIs still center on meetings booked and pipeline created, so the motion supports revenue instead of competing with it. This is also where a cold email agency mindset helps. You win by relevance, specificity, and clean targeting, not volume. When you tie link outreach to the same list-building services and segmentation logic you use for outbound, the quality of opportunities rises fast. The most common mistake is blasting generic guest post requests. Editors and hosts ignore those, and your team learns the wrong lesson about link building not working. Quality beats quantity. How to avoid the backlink traps. B2B teams waste time when they chase more backlinks instead of better ones. In one survey, 93.8% of SEOs said link quality matters more than quantity, which aligns with what we see in revenue outcomes. A few trusted placements can outperform dozens of low-signal links. When a link is actually seen by buyers and not just crawled by bots, it improves both rankings and sales conversations. Another trap is spending money without a quality bar. Research cited by Editorial.link shows the average acceptable price for one high-quality backlink is about $508.95, which is a useful benchmark for leadership discussions about ROI. The better approach in B2B is earning links via partnerships, reviews, and co-marketing, because those channels tend to create durable assets you can reuse in outbound messaging and customer proof. Finally, don't report backlinks as a vanity metric disconnected from the funnel. If your team can't show how organic, review site, and referral traffic influence opportunities, you'll struggle to protect backlinking budget when priorities shift. Track the touch points. Which deals hit review pages, which opportunities came through organic, and which prospects engaged with third-party assets before they booked. Then you'll have a revenue story, not an SEO story. Putting it all together, next steps for a revenue-driven backlink program. A practical next step is to pick a short platform stack and execute relentlessly for 90 days. 1 or 2 review sites, 1 podcast lane, 1 editorial lane, and a partner directory lane. That focus keeps quality high and ensures your brand shows up in the exact places buyers validate decisions before they ever answer a sales email. Once the motion is working, you can expand platforms without diluting execution. Backlinking only pays off when the right people actually see the authority you've earned, and that's where outbound distribution becomes a force multiplier. At SalesHive, we help teams turn third-party mentions into booked meetings by weaving them into cold email, cold calling services, and multi-channel touches across the accounts that matter most. As a B2B sales agency with an outsourced sales team model, we're focused on connecting credibility to conversations, not just generating activity. We've booked 100,000-plus meetings for 1,500-plus clients by combining clean targeting with disciplined execution. Whether you're looking to hire SDRs, augment an existing SDR agency, or evaluate sales outsourcing. If you treat backlinks as a GTM motion, review proof, partner authority, editorial trust, your cold callers and your pipeline both get stronger. The teams that win in 2026 won't be the ones with the most content, they'll be the ones with the most credible third-party authority in front of their ICP.